The second principle that animates the left is group justice rather than individual justice. There's another name for group justice, that's social justice. Social justice, you should understand, is actually evil. Social justice, when people say it, it's an actual evil. Because anytime you put a modifier in front of a term that is inherently good, you turn it into a perversion of itself. Damn! So correctness, right? If you are correct, there's truth and there's something false, you are correct. Once you add political in front of that, you're not talking about truth and falsity anymore. You're talking about if you say the wrong thing, you get shot. Damn! The same thing is true of social justice. Justice is a good. You do something, it's either good or it's bad, and you get what you deserve. That's what justice is. Add social in front of that, and you're inherently saying injustice is better than justice. Damn! Right? Social justice suggests that, you know, I, as a supposedly white man, you know, Jews became white people as soon as we became successful in America. I, as a white man, I am responsible for paying slavery reparations, for example, in the name of social justice, even though all of my ancestors were busy getting killed by Cossacks in Russia at the time that slavery was taking place. Damn! And less than 5% of white Americans alive today have ancestors who ever held slaves. Damn! Every white person in America, though, has to pay because of group justice. How is that just? It's not. But it's group justice. It's social justice. And valuing the collective, valuing people in terms of groups rather than individuals, is how you get to the point where murder in the name of the collective is okay. Damn! All you have to do to see this is just compare the American Revolution, which was about individualism, with the French Revolution, which was about collectivism. Right? The American Revolution, John Adams wrote in the Declaration of Rights for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, he specifically wrote about all men being born free and equal with certain inalienable rights. It mirrors the Declaration of Independence in the United States. If you look at the Declaration of the Rights of Man in France during the French Revolution, it's the opposite. The 1789 Declaration of the Rights of Man says, "The principle of all sovereignty resides essentially in the nation. No body nor individual may exercise any authority which does not proceed directly from the nation." It says, "Law is the expression of the general will." So the collective always rules the individual. The group always rules the individual. And because the group always rules the individual, and because the group is always, this is a very utopian view of the world. Because, see, the left doesn't believe in individual justice or that it can be achieved, but group justice can be achieved. But to pursue group justice is a utopian vision. You have to have this utopia in your head. Well, if the group is more important than the individual, and the individual is in the way of progress, just steamroll the individual. Damn! And that's why you end up with communism killing 100 million people. Damn! Because the bottom line is that if you are seeking equality of outcome on a group level, and somebody is an outlier, well, they're standing in front of the machine, and they have to go. Individuals are either tools of the regime or they are obstacles to the regime.
Hannity, in a move that is raising a lot of eyebrows around the country, California liberal governor Jerry Brown has signed a controversial bill into law allowing transgender students in public schools to choose which restrooms, which locker rooms they want to use, and whether they participate in boys or girls sports. Now, the new measure allows the 6.2 million elementary and high school students in the state to, quote, participate in sex-segregated programs, activities, and facilities based on their self-perception rather than their birth gender. Now, while California is the first state to pass such a law, not everyone's on board. Opponents of the law are questioning what it means for the other students. What about their privacy?
You know, I don't know what kind of crazy world we live in exactly, Sean, when we decide that the best way to stop bullying is to pass a law where we introduce opposite members of the sex into opposite sex bathrooms and locker rooms where regardless of the comfortability of, yeah, and in sports teams, regardless of how other students feel. You're going to force acceptance. I mean, that's something that, you know, again, this comes back to things that are taught in the home. I talked to a school psychologist today who has been in this industry, for the lack of a better term, for 30 years. And the problem with all of this is you're allowing the government to set boundaries for children instead of children and their parents establishing and respecting their own boundaries. I mean, I know that if I was, you know, still a little girl and I'm, you know, using the girls' restroom and there's a boy that walks in that restroom, you know, when you're young girls, you're like, there's a boy in the restroom. I mean, because it's different. When I was a little kid too, Sean, when I was like 5 or 6, because this goes from K to 12, I wanted to be a flower. So I don't know how well these kids know about the sexual identity and transgender and all of that.
I didn't know anything about this. I still don't, for the most part.
No.
All right, Leslie, so a 16-year-old boy has a self-perception he's a girl, and he's going to play on what? The girls' varsity tennis team?
Well, he certainly can try. I played on the boys' soccer team, although anatomically I am a female, I can give you that. Never wanted to be a flower, and it was because we didn't have a girls' team. In this situation, when you have a transgender child and you have 16-year-old boy perceiving and living and dressing as a girl, think about the amount of verbal, emotional, and physical abuse he has and will continue to endure when he's on the boys' teams or ostracized from those teams and prevented from being on those teams or being put in the locker room.
Must go.
That's not going to get better being on a girls' team. I'll tell you that. It's not going to get any better than being on a girls' team.
And I don't disagree with you there, Dana. That's where we agree. That's where we agree. I'm not sure this legislation
will
reduce the bullying. It will reduce one side of the bullying.
Say it. What are you saying, Dana?
I mean,
no.
It seems, it seems bass backwards, just to be frank, that sort of strategy. Let's go ahead and have a boy go on a girls' team because that's going to get him less bullied.
What will?
You know what will get individuals less bullied? Well, when they can look to adults, and adults don't bully each other. We bully each other in politics. We bully each other in television. Kids today have no role models except for the parents who are out there and doing good things and a few upstanding people in pop culture. Other than that, I feel horrible for children today because I look around at their choice of role models, and frankly, it's slim pickings. So, it starts with us.
Another one.